Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the OCNJ Local, your podcast for everything happening here in America's greatest family resort. We're your host, Dominic Dougherty, and Drew, whatever that is on his head, Fasy.
And we are your local guys.
Joining us today is a very special guest, one state champion head coach, Mr. John Bruno. Coach, thanks for taking the time to join us here today.
Still can't get used to hearing that.
We'll get
Welcome,
used to it,
Glad,
Coach.
glad to have you on.
Can't take it away from him, I guess.
No,
Glad to have you on, Coach. I'm glad we appreciate you toning down your shirt for this episode.
Yeah, well, I did hear it was St. Patty's Day, so I had to. I do have a St. Patty's Day shirt, so I had to wear that. So it is a little bit less.
So that's a good way to start, Coach. How did you get the tradition of always wearing a Hawaiian shirt to every game?
It's kind of a long story, but I'll try to make it short. Many people who were in the school when we were in the old building, there's a gentleman by the name of Mike Baldiga. We called him Big Mike. Mike was big. And Mike passed away in 2004. And when he passed away, we started a tradition of wearing Hawaiian shirts on Fridays in his honor, which we kept going. And then I started about 10 years ago saying, I'm going to wear one to start every season at home because I know I'd want him to be at the game. So then COVID hit, and I was always a shirt and tie guy. And when we kind of eased the restriction of wearing ties, I thought, well, am I going to wear a shirt to school, but then change into a shirt and tie? So it hit me, why not wear a Hawaiian shirt in Mike's honor for every game? So Big Mike Baldiga is the reason behind all the Hawaiian shirts.
That's a great story. Love it.
Awesome. Awesome.
And he was an Ocean City guy too.
Oh, good. So, Coach, you went 26-6 on the season, and you have 500 and how many career wins?
It's in the 30s, 34, 5. I'm not really sure. I just care about the last one.
You're only as good as that last one, and you picked a good one. You picked a good one.
It was a good one.
Good one. Yeah. So, kind of sticking on that topic here, there's a really cool video going around that was filmed by our buddy Matt Ulmer. And while everyone's filming the kids, everyone's looking at the kids, he focuses on you. And you look out into the stands and you make a gesture to someone and you pull your cards out of your pocket. Can you tell everyone a little bit about what those cards, first off, who you looked at when you looked into the stands? Who was the first person you made contact with?
It's hard to believe. I'll try not to be emotional because there are certain things that I get emotional about. This is one of them.
Well, I could tell because you wiped away that single tear after
it was my wife, my daughter who lives in Virginia, who brought our first grandchild with her, my son-in-law, and my daughter from North Carolina. But in the back of my pocket for years, I hold the mass cards of all the people I wish were still at the game. It's my mom, my dad, 2 brothers, but numerous people that have been to those games that everybody knows. And it just so happened that I pulled them out of my pocket with 3 minutes to go, and the person I had on the outside was Greg Goodwin, who passed away last year. And his birthday was yesterday. And so I reached into my pocket, asked him to help me out those last couple of minutes. And lo and behold, Colonia didn't score in the last 3 minutes. And so when the game was over, I just kind of let my wife and family know that Goody was with us. So that's what that was.
Coach, I was sitting fairly close to your family at that last game, and it was emotional for everybody. And I did shake your hand outside, but had I had a chance to say something to you on the court, I would have said, I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yeah, well,
that was a wonderful thing to see.
What people don't, I think should understand is that anybody who's coached anytime, I don't care if it's 1 year or 37, if you don't have a supportive family, it's not going to work, because you're either going to cheat one of the two. And I have had such an understanding family that's allowed me to do what I do, because it does take up a lot of time. But they've been there every step of the way. In 37 years, if my wife's missed 10 games, it would probably be a lot. So to have them there, sharing in this moment, which is a really, truly a once in a lifetime experience for me. No offense to the coming groups. I don't know if we have a state championship caliber team, next couple of years, but we have a team that will certainly be competitive. But same state champion level is pretty rough to do. So to be able to share that moment, and we've had our down moments too. I think what people don't understand is that with every kind of a state championship year, you had a lot of years that weren't so good, but if your family isn't there with you, it makes it very, very difficult to get through each year. And they've been there every step of the way. And
how awesome that your daughters came in for that game. That's just fantastic.
Yeah, what's funny is that the one in North Carolina was kind of like, she doesn't like to sit and watch the games. Probably she said to her, as what she said to me was, if it's a 1-point game at the fourth quarter, I can't watch. And usually she kind of leaves and goes into the hallway. But we kind of snuck a picture. Someone took a picture of a scoreboard area, and we noticed that she was up. If you noticed, behind the court, there was a glass area up top. She had kind of scurried up to there because she can't handle it when it's a tight game. So I think in the end, she enjoyed being there, when she would have been lost without being there. But the fact that all the family members were there, I just don't think people understand how special of a moment that can be.
Well, and that game in particular, I mean, there was, you were down 7 in the first quarter. I think both in the second and third quarter, you were down 6 at one point, if I'm right. And they were a good team. They were a heck of a team. And it almost felt like when they built those leads that the game might be getting away from our guys. And man, they fought back each of those times and throughout the game. And then I think it was 3:18 left. We were up by 4, had a couple of, in my opinion, questionable calls that gave them a couple buckets.
They did a fine job. No questionable calls in that game.
Okay. All right, Coach.
No questionable calls.
I believe when I was jawing at the ref, you were jawing at the ref. But yeah, they did a great job. But anyway, tied it up at 46. And so, they scored 4 points and tied it up, and kind of felt like maybe the momentum has shifted a little bit. And your guys fought back again.
Well, I think, Drew, to be honest with you, we've been resilient as a group for the last couple of years. It's just the way these kids are made up. I'm sure, and I get criticized a lot because I don't call a lot of timeouts because, first of all, I want them at the end of the game when I really need them, if I'm going to need them. But I'm sure when it got to 8-3 to start the game, I'm sure everybody was kind of saying, call timeouts, and I think you only have to call timeout when you need to change something. And all we had to do was play better. A timeout's not going to make you play better. But this group, now, obviously, if it got to a point where I had to call timeout, obviously I would. But I had faith in these kids, and I think they had faith in each other, that just buy your time, just make, do what you've been doing all year long, do what you've been doing day in and day out, and let's see what happens. And sure enough, all of a sudden it was 9-8, and then it stayed that way for a while. We got a lead. They came back, like you said, same thing. I mean, I don't think if anybody had walked into that game at any point in time and looked at the score, would you be able to look at our team and know what the score was? That they just play and they know what they need to do. And that last 3 minutes defensively, I mean, I was listening to the broadcast last night, and the guy was talking about how they only had 4 turnovers or 5 turnovers, throughout the game. And then all of a sudden, in those last 3 minutes, we must have got 3 or 4, and we got them when we needed them. And that's where the players come in. I mean, Dean Lappin and Ty Olick have been stalwarts for us all year long on the defensive end. And what got lost in the shuffle was the job that Alec Bell did on their number 3. He may have had 22 points, but he only had 1 3, and his game is shooting threes. And he did a tremendous job. And then Luke did his usual job, rebounding the ball. And the other thing too, which people notice, he struggled around the basket a couple of times, putting the ball in the basket, but he never stopped. He was relentless. It wasn't like he didn't hang his head. Now, everybody was disappointed when you miss a shot around the basket, but he would miss one, he'd go after the next one. It wasn't like he let it get to him. And then, of course, Josh Lenko was those 2 threes he had in the fourth quarter were just backbreakers to them because they were starting to get away from us at that point. And he hit that 3 in the corner. Then he came back and hit that 3 at the top of the key. And now we're right back in the game, and we never changed. And then once we get a lead, we've been pretty good at holding it. And you can see in that last 2 minutes, they really didn't get, we didn't turn the ball over much because we really are pretty good at holding the ball.
So let me back up 1 second, Coach, because it's worth repeating. The one player's hand that I shook on the court after the game was Alec Bell, because that kid was wearing him all game. When Alec was on him, and yes, he scored some points, but he shut him down.
Actually, the only 3
he got,
the only 3 he got, he didn't score on Alec. That was the interesting thing. They were caught in a switch with him, and Luke got caught up in a switch. And the only 3 he really made wasn't against Alec. But we just asked them to stay with that kid. And again, when you ask kids to do something, it's one thing. We all know what we want to do. To go out and execute it is totally up to them. So when you say, it's coaching this, it's about the players. And to a T, Alec did exactly what we wanted to do. And I thought he did a tremendous, a kid gave up 22 points and you think he didn't do a good job on that kid. That kid makes some threes, he's scored 30.
Easy.
So we'll give him 22. And Ty Olick did a great job on the other kid. We wanted to stop 3 and 0. If one of them scored, we could live with that. If they both scored, it was going to be very difficult. Well, the other kid had 3. So Ty Olick did, and that's another one. I think what's interesting about this group, it's really 5 unsung heroes. We don't, and again, not to take anything away from former teams, and we had some really good players like Corey Segrich, one of the best players we had here, in years, and Ben McGonigal last year. We didn't look to any one guy, and you as an opponent couldn't say we need to stop that guy, because each night a different guy stepped up, and we did the little things. And when you do the little things, you can't prepare against the little things. And all 5 of these guys, and then Chris Ponteri coming in, he was a great 6-man, and that's what you need. You need guys to come in, and we rotated guys around. And I know we didn't play a whole lot of guys, but you need that guy to come in and give guys a break. And Chris Ponteri, as a 6-man, did just as good a job, whether he played 2 minutes or 15 minutes. And that's what was great about this team. Everybody seemed to understand their role in order for us to be successful.
I agree. As a fan, Coach, I never knew who was going to, jump out with 20 points in any given game. And it just seemed like whoever had the hot hand, whoever they could get the ball to, they were doing it. There was no selfishness at all on that team.
I think the one thing about this team, and we've had some teams in the past that did it also. It's not like no one else did it, but I'm a big believer in sharing the ball. And I think when you share the ball with one another, you tend to be a happy team. And look at the passes that we made yesterday. And one of the statistics, which I've said numerous times, I'll share it with you guys too. We had 20 baskets, 17 of them were assisted, which mean only 3 times. And I think 2 of those, Dean had a breakaway layup. I think Ty had you get that layup, there's no assist, but 17 times somebody threw the ball to someone else for us to score. And many times they were layups. I still think if you ever rewatch the game, the best pass I have seen in a very long time was the pass that Ty Olick threw to Luke Jumacaris, running the floor, full court bounce pass, catches it in stride for the layup. It was just a thing of beauty. And that's one thing I want everybody to appreciate from this team. I've had numerous coaches, friends of mine, and people that I've competed against say how well these kids pass the ball. And one coach just texted me, the guy that we lost to last year in Colts Neck had texted me and said, how do you get them kids to throw the bounce pass? And because it's a lost art in this game. And when it happens, it's just a beautiful thing. And I will always remember that pass that Ty made to Luke as the thumbprint to how to make a good pass. Those kids would have thrown that pass high in the air, trying to throw it over people, gets intercepted, you gave up a layup. But these kids have bought into everything that we have done.
And the other thing that they do well is they look for and find the guy going to the basket. I mean, how many of Luke's points were scored cutting to the basket?
Well, I have to give you a little secret there. Deserves a lot of the credit is Ryan Gill. Ryan Gill is the JV coach. Tremendous basketball mind. He's got a mind for things, and when you see Luke getting those layups, those are off of things that he designs that works for us. But again, he's got great X's and O's, but if the kids don't execute what they are, it really doesn't matter. So the combination, I call him my offensive coordinator because he does a great job with the offense. But you can do all the screening you want, you can do all the cutting you want, but if you can't make the pass, it doesn't really work. So the combination of everything involved, but it's fun to watch. I'll be honest with you. That's one of the few times when I sit back and I watch a game afterwards, I just sit back and go, that's the way basketball is supposed to be played. You move, you screen, you pass, you score layups. And it's not about shooting threes all the time. It's not about going one-on-one. I feel like AAU is really not something I'm very fond of because I don't think they play basketball the right way, although you see a lot of offensive skill. I always laughed at what people think when they see us warm up. I feel like we're hoopers. I really do. I just think they look down there and they go, this team won how many games? I mean, look at these guys, you know what I mean? And we don't do anything flashy and do anything tricky. We just play basketball. And that's what we've been emphasizing these kids is learn how to play basketball.
So you mentioned Coach Gill. Who is your other assistant coach there that's with you on the bench?
Tommy Bellezzi. What's interesting is both played for me, which is kind of neat. I don't have a plethora of coaches sitting on the bench, and Tommy's he's our freshman coach, does an absolute fabulous job with those kids. As a matter of fact, he kind of molded most of these kids because they've been playing together since they were in 6th grade. And to me, I hope that that's a signal for kids to learn to stay together. We had in this day of, the colleges have the NIL, which means kids are moving from school to school. But I think it's confusing to me is you're getting new teammates every year. So even though the school's established, the kids are new. Whereas these kids been playing together, at the freshman level and then the varsity level together for the last 4 years, and they've gotten to know each other. And I think that molding of playing together is a lot. So I'm a big fan of the homegrown kids staying at home and making it good. And look what it's done for the town. These are Ocean City and Upper Township kids making life great for Upper Township and Ocean City to be proud of what they've done.
It is a huge thing. It is a huge thing. That's why we wanted to reach out. I'm going to change topics if I may, Coach.
Sure.
So Bobby Barr is telling everybody that he is the greatest basketball manager in the history of Ocean City High School. I'd like to know, is there truth in that? And if so, what's the criteria you use?
Yeah, you know what? Bobby was the only manager that told me what I should do. Most of the managers, I tell them what to do. Bobby had a knack of telling me exactly how it is. Sometimes maybe I didn't really want to hear, and telling the kids, like, how many times he told me we need to go practice foul shots. Right, we need to do this. But Bobby's been there, those stuff. Although I have a little bone to pick with him. He's telling these stories, and it's great to hear that most of them seem to be true. The one about me going out and sitting on the court, we got to have a talk about. I don't know if you guys saw his post about it.
I read that.
Claimed that I ran out on the court and sat down, and let's get this straight. That never happened. I don't know where that. The other ones were all true. I admit we got caught in the rain and pushing his wheelchair through because the bus left us and all that. But that sitting on the court, let's clear that in the air right now. That did not ever happen. I will say something to him about it.
Well, he's in politics, so he can't be 100% truthful. He can't help himself. I wanted to throw Bobby's name out.
It's what that's saying. He believes it.
Yeah,
he believes it. But he's been great.
He's a good man.
He to me is the epitome of what a lot of our kids, and I used to use him when he was there with us. I used to say to the kids, I'd bring them in and talk, see the kids, talk to the kids, and tell them that how badly would Bobby want to get up out of his chair one time and run down that court. So why would you be lazy? Why would you not give it your best effort? And he would be there, right there, to hear him. Not only would I say it, they would see me say it, and they would see him. And I'm hoping that because he's a great role model. He really is. I'm so proud of him for what he has done and where he has gotten. Words other than the fabrication of me sitting on the floor, everything else he's done in his life, I'm really proud of.
Yeah, Bobby's a good man. That's why I wanted to mention his name. While we're talking about non basketball specific issues, I wanted to say, Coach, one of the things that and you and I don't know each other very well, but one of the things that I really respect about you is the school community involvement that you have. I mean, basketball coach for 37 years, you coached the softball team for 19 or 20 years, right? But you were also, and let's not forget, you were the sports person of the decade recipient in 2020. But you were an announcer and the scoreboard operator for the football team, right?
Yeah.
You're the MC for the Sports Hall of Fame inductions, the Mr. OCHS contests, which Dom and I were on that panel. Was that last year or 2 years ago?
It was.
Last year, I think. We had a little fun with you. I don't know if you remember that, Coach. Our resume was a little padded.
If you're doing it this year, I'm going to be checking it out a little bit more.
And you announced the prom parade. Not all teachers get involved with the school community the way you do. So I just wanted to tell you that I really respect that about you.
Well, first of all, I always say, when we bring it up, we do have our share that do get involved, and sometimes not as on the spotlight. But my personal view is, I love to know that kids are aware that we care about what they're doing. And so many times, if I go to a lacrosse game, or you go to a soccer game, or you go to something where you see, and it's like, oh, you were there. Like, it's amazing how much they care that you're there. Yeah. And so whenever somebody's asked me, as a matter of fact, Tony Galani, and Tony was the MC at the OCHS for years, and he is the best. And when he doesn't want to do it, they came to ask me. I almost feel sometimes that I don't want to say no. If you're nice enough to ask me, I'm going to try my first thing this year. I just got asked just before you came on to get in, because I love musicals. If you look behind me, I have a bunch of Wizard of Oz stuff and Wicked stuff up on my wall that Mr. Dr. Sweeper has asked me if I wanted to kind of participate in the Guys and Dolls. And believe it or not, there's a scene where I got to look into it, a scene where you're the MC and I thought to myself, but just the fact that I like kids knowing that we're caring about what they do outside of the classroom. Like, we expect them to do it in the classroom, but like, it's so many times I've had people ask, like, a kid will say, oh, you were there. Like, why wouldn't I be? Especially if I have a kid in class, and I can say, whether it's the play, whether it's some concert, whether it's something, if I can make an effort to go there. And that's why I like doing the announcing part of it. It gives me a chance to see, at the prom, I can see every kid. That to me is so much fun. And it's such to see the looks on their faces, how happy they are, and to be able to share with them. And some kids I see for the first time, which is kind of neat. Like, oh, you went to Ocean City? I never saw you before. And one of those things. But I just really enjoy sharing. That's why I like with the kids that this whole winning the state title. I think the most fun thing I saw was coming over in the bus, the number of people on the side of the road that I hadn't seen, that they were sharing with these kids because they were there. Had nobody been on that street, it really wouldn't have been the same. But the kids see all these people. And that's how I view going to the plays and going to the games and trying to do things that involve yourself, because I think deep down inside, the kids appreciate it when we do that.
Totally agree. Dom and I coach, and I know that after a football season, if I go to one of the kids' basketball games or their little league game, they really get a big smile on their face when they see that you're there, and you're there for them. They do appreciate it.
And that's enough right there. That's
Yeah.
the reward, knowing that they appreciated it. You feel is worthwhile to do what you have just done. And even if they don't, it doesn't mean they have to do that. But when they do that, it's so rewarding to realize that they appreciate what you're doing. And that's the way I've just always been that way. And I hope that, I'd like to think that my mother and father had a lot to do with that, to say that, get yourself involved and do for others, to make their day. Don't worry about just yourself. Try to do what's best for others.
If I was a betting man, I'd bet your mom and dad did have a lot to do with your character, Coach. We're going to switch gears real quick. I have a couple of, we're going to call this the lightning round. I have a couple of questions about the team, the players, that I'm going to ask and have you answer as quickly as you can off the top of your head.
Can this be edited?
Fun. No gotcha questions. All right, you ready?
Did you hear my question? Can this be edited? Am I going to get stuck here?
No, there's no gotcha.
All right, go ahead.
No gotcha.
I'll give it a shot.
We wouldn't do that to you. Okay, first, who's the funniest kid on the team?
Chris Ponteri.
Who is the loudest player and who's the quietest?
Chris Ponteri. Quiet's a tie. As far as those guys that you would know, of those guys we mentioned during the game, I'd have to say, honestly, Dean Lappin. Is
okay. Who's the most confident player?
Confident player. Dean Lappin.
Dean Lappin. Good. Who got maddest at himself when they made a mistake?
That's, I don't know if I have an answer for that one.
I was going to guess that you would say Chris Ponteri.
Well, okay. You know what? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to agree with you on that one. I'm going to say yeah, because he tries so. Yes, I'll go with that, because so many times when he's come out of a game, you could see he's taking it on his personal shoulders that he made a mistake, and I'm always telling him next play, don't worry about it, move on. And yeah, I'd have to agree with that one, because the other guys, it's hard to see it on. I don't read them real well, but right, I would go with Chris Ponteri. Yes.
Right. All right. So this next question, you have to assume that all the players on the team are of age and have a driver's license. Okay. So the question is, if you had to have one player drive you in your car in bad weather, who would that player be?
Ty Olik.
Who?
Ty Olik.
Ty
Olik, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. All right. I would trust him more than anybody on that team.
His grandfather, Tony, is my neighbor. Tony's a great guy. Vietnam vet, great guy.
They are very nice people.
Yeah. Proudest moment of this season?
Proudest moment. It might be kind of weird to say this one, but I believe it was the Winslow Township game after we won. I've always been a big fan of not over celebrating. So the other team, like I've lost and been standing there waiting for the other team to come through. And sometimes I've said, forget it, let's just go in the locker room. But I believe it was Winslow Township where our team told the fans to stay away so that they could go and shake hands with their opponent rather than be involved in them hugging, which is great. I told them afterwards, go do that. And like I say, we did it a little bit, not as much, but it was almost like they did it on their own, and I just think that when you respect the game and you respect your opponent, I mean, the accomplishments, obviously winning the state championship would be at the top of the list as far as how proud I am of what they've done. But that always stuck with me, that they know what that's important to me, that we shake hands with the other team, that rather than thinking of themselves and get caught up in that, they thought enough to say, no, let's go do this, then let's go celebrate. So it was kind of weird when you asked that question, and that just popped into my head, that I was so proud of them that they put the other team first before they put themselves, which is kind of what they've been doing.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. Finally, because you have been coach of the Ocean City for 37 years, you have 500 and some odd wins, 530 some odd wins in your career, and you are now the Group 3 state champion head coach. So a little humbling question. What was the worst on-court mistake that you made this season?
This season? Mistake. From a strategy standpoint?
Whatever you want.
Mistake?
Yeah.
I totally regret not running, and it would have been Chris Ponteri, I believe. It should have been. I would have said to him that we didn't double team Dante Thompson when he had the ball, when the score was tied, Atlantic City in the Cape Atlantic League championship game, that I did not send him to double him to make him give up the ball, who ended up driving, getting fouled, and winning the game. That moment has stuck in my head. That I took. It was my responsibility to do that, and that to me was my biggest mistake, because it literally it could have. I won't say it did because I don't know the outcome, but it really was the reason why the Atlantic City, to his credit, gets fouled, goes to the line, makes the shot, and wins. But yeah, I would have to say that one right there.
All right, so to end on it.
You guys always like this. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Joe Fenton. Do you know Joe Fenton?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Joe reminds me that I am the losingest coach in Ocean City history. So he never lets me get too big ahead, because don't forget about all those wins. Don't forget you're also the losingest coach in Ocean City history. So it allows you not to get too high, but it's a story of our kids. I don't get too high with the wins. I'm not going to get too low because of the losses. And that's kind of what our MO has been these last couple of years. When we've lost a game, we lose it, we go home, we come back, we play the next game. We win, we come back. The ride home on the state championship was nowhere near what you would have probably thought it was coming home.
What was it like?
So it was a lot of singing, and they had some music. But when we got close to Ocean City and they knew people were going to be out now, then they started to get a little bit. But it really was rather, I was surprised how reserved it was. But they had fun with each other, and that's really what it was all about, having fun with teammates and sharing, to me, the most incredible experience that they're going to share for the rest of their lives together. Nothing they will ever do together will be like what they experienced, on Sunday.
Right. So my last thing, because I didn't want to ask a negative question to end it, but I'll make this statement. You had said earlier that you get criticized for not taking timeouts when other people think you should. So my question is, do any of the people that criticize you have a state title?
Good point. But I will tell you one thing, Drew. There's a method to my madness that people don't know. And my philosophy is, if you ever watch a college game especially, even in a high school game, but high school's over now, watch what happens when the other team scores and you call timeout. Watch them come off the court. Now, you score during that run that you want to call timeout, but you score. Watch the team come off the court. My philosophy is, I want to call timeout after I score. So all the people that have criticized me, 3 possessions down the court, I want to call timeout. If we don't score, I'm not calling timeout. If they come down and score, I'm not calling timeout. I'm calling timeout when we score.
That makes sense.
For all the years, I've been numerous times, I've said to the official, if we score, I did it the other day. And luckily, the other coach called the timeout. If we score, I'm calling timeout. Well, when we don't score, I'm not calling timeout. And it's always been something I've done for years, and I subscribe to it. Plus, I need those timeouts at the end of the game.
Right.
So I'm not going to call an 8-3 timeout, first of all, because I think there's nothing they're doing to cause us. What are you going to say in the huddle? Play better? Why waste it to do that?
Right.
And so, but a lot of people don't know that I want to call timeout, but when we didn't score, I'm not calling timeout. But they don't know that. So it looks like I don't want to call timeout, because I save them. I do. I mean, that's been my MO, but tell you, Drew, there's been a lot of games where we won games because I had 4 timeouts at the end of the game when you need them. as opposed to we don't have any more timeouts and you can't win the game. So, but yeah, that's kind of it. But yeah, you're right. I'll use that one. I guess I can use that one for a lot of things now. You know?
Yeah, pretty much everything.
You know? I always thought, too, I wanted to show you something else that I wanted to appreciate. I brought this with me. I don't know if you saw it. I brought this with me. If you can see it, you see who it is?
Yeah. Jack Boyd.
I brought that and put it in my bag. I said, well, if Jack didn't win in 1972, I said maybe he can win today. And he was with me too. So the other thing about, and you can appreciate this, anybody that's been around here long enough, that now I get to say my name with Dixie Howe and Jack Boyd. And even though Jack didn't win it, Jack was the one who was in it. So when you say state champion teams, you've got to say Dixie Howe and Jack Boyd. And if there are two people that I have relished being associated with for anything, it would be those two. And so I can't say how proud I am enough to be in that category with two of the greatest. I met Dixie when I substituted here back in 1979. Didn't really get to know him well. Jack was one of my best friends, and we miss him dearly. But to be able to be in that conversation with Jack Boyd and Dixie Howe, to me, that's enough. I don't really just talk to me about we're in the same breath. I am absolutely amazed at myself that I get that opportunity to be in with those two.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
I got to thank. I just love the fact that when I was first started coaching, there was no video. There was no. I got tapes of my teams from 89, 90 that are on VHS, and people look at me like, what is that? When I say that, but I tell Ryan Gill, who I hope someday, takes my seat. He's got a young child. He doesn't have to leave the house to scout.
Right.
At all. Whereas I'm driving to, Shawnee, I'm driving to Haddonfield, I'm driving all over the place to catch games and go to another game and, and doing this. And now you can just sit, and what you guys do and offer, not just from a sports standpoint, you guys do everything out there. I just think I can't thank those people enough, like yourselves, who do this to make it so much easier for other people to access different variety of things. It doesn't have to be sports. It could be anything. And I just think the way that the world is, if we use it in a positive manner. But I want to thank you guys for. So I said I would stay as long as you wanted to talk to you guys, because what you do is just phenomenal. It's just a phenomenal thing, and I greatly appreciate what you guys do.
Well, we appreciate.
Thanks, Coach. Hey, Dom, you're going to cut that piece out and put it on the internet, okay?
That's it.
Just make sure.
The previous 35 minutes are gone, and that's the only thing that's going to be.
I got you. That's all you need. But I do.
You get praise from.
It's fun. You guys have the right idea.
We do try to have fun.
I appreciate it.
We do. And we appreciate you and what you did, for the town, the community, and what you're going to continue to do. Because you don't seem like there's any signs of slowing down, huh, Coach?
Not really. It's coming. Awesome. It's just not here. It's coming, but it's not here.
Awesome.
I'm having too much fun.
Good.
Well, enjoy this one. I'm sure you got bigger and better things planned for next year. And, again, we appreciate you for everything you do. This has been the OCNJ Local, your podcast for everything happening here in America's greatest family resort. Peace.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks again,
Thank
Coach.
You.